Another week, another winner. We will get to that here in just a second. But if you're getting this episode right now and saying, hey, when's episode 27 going to come? Well, that's going to be next week because we figured with it being a short week, Thanksgiving holiday coming up, nobody wants to work on Thanksgiving, right? So we're going to go ahead and combine the episode right here. So 27 and 28 regularly scheduled programming next week. This one, Matt Maltepes, all-encompassing. He's the animal, by the way. He's Matt Maltepes. I'm Dan Mathews of Dan Mathews and the Animals right here on the College Kids channel. And don't forget, like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. If they want winners, then they need to be watching this show. I think that's a proven point these last few weeks, Matt Maltepes, because especially after last weekend, you're going to be wanting to follow these plays right now.
Yeah, we're getting in deep in a college football season, and we just keep on getting better. The more information we get, the better we get, the more we accumulate and for our wagers, and that's exactly what's happening, man. We've been absolutely destroying it right on this show. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you like, and always comment, any questions you guys have about any games, or tell us what you like.
Absolutely. All of those things, all of the above. I mean, look, I understand what social media is. Social media, hey, you're a moron, all these different types of things. It's nice when you get hey, I love the plays. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that. So those we really enjoy. The other guys, well, you know what? I hope your Thanksgiving turkey gets burned. All right. So let's, before we get into the recap and also to the games coming up this weekend, Matt, you put out a great video for a guy that me and you know very well. I mean, I'm wearing my Georgia shirt today. A guy that I got to know down there, our good buddy who is part of the morning show on the Fanatic up there in Philadelphia. He's a good buddy of mine. His name's John Kincaid. 3-0 now against cancer. Round of applause for John. What a guy. What a guy. Love that guy. As you put out a nice little tribute for him and also to John, to Christina, and to Olivia, the great Kincaid family. Congratulations to you all on such a great feat. And also, too, as we record this later tonight, I believe John is going to grab the rubber hammer and strike the bell at midcourt there for the Sixer game, as it sounds like Daryl Morey and the crew did a great thing of saying, hey, John, get the night started.
Yeah, man, he more than deserves it. John, great guy, talked to him a couple of times, and, it's an amazing victory to be 3-0, and God bless him, God bless his family, and just what a great guy.
No, 100%. I mean, like I said, the amount that John helped me in my career when we worked together in Atlanta, I mean, it can't be repaid. He is an unbelievable person, an unbelievable friend. And John, congratulations, buddy. Really happy for you. And hopefully this will be an even more happy Thanksgiving for you this year. I'm sure very much it will be. So congratulations to John Kincaid. All right, let's get into the games, huh? Let's talk about the winners that you had this week. You had plenty of them. Let's go ahead and get the lone loser out of the way. Who was it? Was it Billy Joel, the Lonely Loser? Was that a song by him? I'm sure that's going to draw comments out there. I mean, especially with most of your audience up there in the Northeast, you speak ill or you speak wrongly of people like Billy Joel or the Boss, or anybody like that, they start coming after you. I mean, here in Texas, I guess if you talk badly about, George Strait or anybody else in country music, ZZ Top, Pantera, people like that, then people will start coming after you. So if I got that wrong, I apologize. But the lonely loser for you this week was the game that was the largest game of the weekend last weekend. That was Oregon State and Washington. You like the over in it. I like the over in it as well. But the defense is held in this one as they fell well short of the over. The over-under was 65.5. And this one, a 22-20 final. So obviously 42 points does not be greater than the other. So, just go ahead and break this one down really quick.
Yeah, this one, our lone loser kind of went under. We were on the over. Washington skipped this one with a victory by only 2 points, however, 22-20. Oregon State actually had a lot more first downs, though, than the Huskies, getting 8 more first downs Oregon State also had more total yards. They had more passing yards, more rushing yards. They even crushed Washington in the time of possession battle, but they were not efficient on third down. Washington beat them there. And then on top of that, what do we always talk about? They lost the turnover battle, 3 turnovers to 1 by the Huskies. And then they also missed a couple of fourth down opportunities. So you had a couple of turnover on downs. And other than turnovers, Oregon State won this box score. But as I always say, you have to take care of the ball, because if you don't, you're not going to win. You're definitely not usually going to cover. But we took it on the chin this one. Our lone loser. We had the over, and it ended up going on.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very rare you're going to go perfect all the way through. We did what we could, so that's all we can ask for in that case. So Washington and Oregon State, not the over in this one, but as we get into they look ahead for this weekend. I mean, we'll talk about what is going to be probably one of the most exciting championship Saturdays that we've seen in college football in quite some time. And it's going to get started on that Friday night with likely Oregon and Washington, the rematch again. I mean, it seems like for that one, Matt, as we're again, another thing to look forward to tonight on this Tuesday night is the next round of college football playoff rankings that are going to come out. And I think that if nothing else, the committee is going to tell us that Pac-12 championship game is going to matter. Winner gets in, loser. I think this year, with the Rose Bowl being one of the semifinals, you go to the Fiesta Bowl. It's not a terrible thing in the least, but when you're that close to making it to the college football playoff, boy, does it make that month incredibly long. So that's going to be a fun one next week. There's no doubt about it. Again, a very exciting championship Saturday ahead in college football. All right, let's go to your biggest winner of the weekend. I mean, man, did you crush this one? And I think a lot of people were on your side on this, but still, I mean, you had 2 plays in this. I took your 2 plays. I went a step further. I was the one who was wrong about the step further. So I'll go ahead and set your 2 plays up really quick. You had Georgia minus 5.5 in the first half. Strong cover, 24-10 at the break. Then you also had the whole game, Georgia minus 10. Again, strong cover as they win that one 38-10. The lone loser in this case right here, I'm Billy Joel in this case. I took the over as well. I played them straight. Parlays are for suckers. Don't do them. You want to lose money, play parlays. And in this case right here, I thought, all right, the over 58, that seems a little low for me. I don't think that Georgia is in danger of not covering by any means, but I think that probably Tennessee can put up some points. Georgia's defense, in addition to the offense, boy, they showed up. I mean, Matt, I'm probably looking pretty good after that 75-yard touchdown run by Tennessee to start off the game, where I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be that type of day on Rocky Top. But then Georgia after that said, you want to score? We'll give you 3 more on a field goal. Aside from that, you ain't getting much else.
Yeah, Georgia absolutely crushed Tennessee. It was just a complete domination. They won by 28 points. Bulldogs had more than double the amount of first downs as the Volunteers. They were 9 of 13 on third down, which is 70% about. So, yeah, great third down percentage. While they held Tennessee to 2 of 11, which is only 18%. So you see the difference: 70%, 18%. Huge difference. 472 yards gained compared to 270 yards gained by Tennessee. The Bulldogs averaged 10.2 yards per completion, which is more than double that of the Volunteers. Once again, the Bulldogs had the ball for about 40 minutes when it came to the time possession battle. Just complete domination by Georgia. They are catching their stride, and they definitely do look dangerous as any Georgia team before.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said it before, I'm one of those guys that is bear for, repeating myself. I mean, I'm a devil in the details when it comes to repeating myself. And in this case right here, I mean, this is what Georgia does under Kirby Smart. This is the time of year when they seemingly are playing their best football. I mean, 2017, they had a little bit of the trip up against Auburn, but then they got it back in the SEC championship game and absolutely crushed Auburn that night in their route to go to the Rose Bowl and beat Oklahoma, and then, of course, get to the national championship game and lose to Bama. They will get Bama once again inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We'll talk about that next week. as they get ready for that one. I mean, as that one looks like another one as well that is going to be kind of like the Pac-12 championship game. Winner gets in, loser goes home, or at least loser goes to a lesser New Year's Six bowl game, which I'm sure probably their fan base. Again, I mean, I've seen it before, covering Georgia numerous times of, where it's like, all right, hey, they got a chance to get into the playoff. And then if they lose that game, then it's oh man, this is a long month. Oh, we're playing in the Sugar Bowl. Well, okay, that's cool, I guess. But nobody wants to be in that category right there. You want to be getting ready for the Final Four. But, kind of a side track right here. I mean, while I am looking forward to the 12-team playoff, I mean, conversations like me and you are having right now, Matt, they're not going to be next year, because at this point next year, it's going to be no matter what. Say Georgia, finishes the regular season 12-0, which I expect them to do. I think most people expect them to do. So they finish 12-0, they're in. The conference championship game is not going to matter at that point. I mean, it's going to matter more to Alabama than it would to Georgia at that point. But, I mean, you're probably talking about for Georgia just semantics of, are you number one to get in, or are you having to play on the opening weekend? I mean, that would pretty much be the only conversation we'd be having. So I am going to miss that a little bit of the exclusivity of the college football playoff being at 4 right now, because, I mean, these next 2 weekends are going to be must-watch football for not only for Georgia, for Bama, for Florida State now. I mean, what do they look like without Jordan Travis? Same deal for Oregon and Washington as well, and same deal for Ohio State and Michigan. I mean, because we're looking at a scenario where the committee is going to possibly have a really tough decision of 5 undefeated teams and 1 undefeated team being one on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different come next year. It's going to be very interesting. I'm actually kind of interested to see how it goes, but I'm definitely going to miss this type of conversation going back and forth, talking about these different teams and what it all means. And yeah, it's I guess it's just par for the course, and we got to just go with it and see what happens.
Absolutely. All right. A matchup that does not have any bearing on what we've just been talking about with the college football playoff. In this case right here, it's all about pride. I mean, I guess North Carolina could have still had an opportunity to get to Charlotte for the ACC championship game, but that went out the window with their loss to Clemson. Clemson, of course, after Tyler and Spartanburg called in, they absolutely were able to circle the wagons, and they have looked like a totally different football team these last few weeks. I mean, I think that's a convenient thing to point to for why Clemson has played so well. I think that, Matt, the biggest thing is probably the offense is starting to hold with Garrett Riley as the OC, and you're starting to see what he is able to do with some of those duties calling the offense, because we've seen a totally different group with Cade Klubnik at the helm these last few weeks, but they are absolutely able to crush North Carolina 31-20 to win that one, sending Drake May and the Carolina Tar Heels to their 3rd loss of the season. But for Clemson now, I mean, this was a game that you said if you get it at 6, I like it. Mm-hmm. I think if anybody still liked the 6.5, I think it even got up to as high as 7 at one point. Either way, you covered. I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, so we cashed our first 2 moves on Georgia first half, Georgia full game, and then we came right back with Clemson. Clemson won this one 31-20. Tigers had 25 first downs compared to UNC's 19. Both teams had gained about the same amount of yards at around 460, but this game was full of the ground game. Both teams ran for 247 yards on the ground. Tar Heels averaged 7.8 yards a rush, while Clemson only averaged 4.5. But the big difference was in the time possession, right? Clemson controlled the clock. They controlled the ball for over 38 minutes, while North Carolina only had the ball for 22 minutes. Clemson was able to get after Drake May. They had gained 4 sacks, while UNC couldn't even get 1. Another big difference in this one was UNC just had more turnovers than Clemson. And I said previously, as anytime that happens, you're not just more likely to lose, but you're also less likely to cover, and that's what happened. I told you last week Clemson -6 was the way to go if you're going to bet this one. And that's exactly what happened. So if you took it, you can cash it.
There you go. I like it as, again, a 31-20 win. So if you took anything in that neighborhood right there, you were good to go. All right. As part of our recap portion of the show, again, I just want to go ahead and make sure for housekeeping out there that people realize we're doing just one show this week. So we're doing an all-encompassing right here. Quick recap of the games. And then, of course, we'll get you set up for the weekend ahead before you get into some of that Thanksgiving turkey. Stuffing wherever you are, dressing for others. Here in the South, we call it dressing. Either way, it's really good. Especially my dad's. My dad can make some good one with the Holy Trinity right there of the celery, the peppers, and the onions. Let's go. Gary can absolutely get after some dressing. But in this case right here, let's close it out with Texas, Iowa State. I mean, either way you took this one. If you took Texas giving the points, you got to cover. And also to the over-under in this one, the Longhorns and Cyclones able to keep it the under. The over-under was 47. The total was 42. That, sir, is a cover.
Yeah, Texas won this one 26-16. They're able to grab 7 more first downs than Iowa State, 70 more yards, and they ran for 123 yards while holding Iowa State to only 9 yards rushing on 21 attempts. They only averaged 0.4 yards a rush. That was big. Both teams accumulated 7 sacks together, so it was a huge defensive game for both teams. And I told you last week, I like the under, and that's exactly what happened. It was a big defensive struggle, and it pushed this game under, and we saw that when it came to Iowa State, their run game. We saw that when it came to the sacks that both teams accumulated. So, and we saw it in the final score as well. So, yeah, we cashed that game, and we cashed that under there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sir, for you this week, I give you a total of 4-1 on the week. I mean, 4-1 in those 5 plays that you went with. And if you followed Matt for those plays right there, what did you have? You had profits. That's what you had last weekend.
Yeah, some money coming in.
That's it. So a little bit extra for the Christmas shopping this year if you played these plays last week. So good stuff on that. Now let's jump to the next portion of the show. It is the look ahead. This would be like our Thursday edition of the show. We're just putting it all together right here. A nice little Thanksgiving meal for all of you to enjoy before Thursday. But let's get into the games. The games we have to break down. We've got the early one, Friday night. We've got Oregon State. Can the Beavers, due to their in-state rivals, what they were unable to do last week to the out-of-state rivals, as the Ducks still trying to find their way to get into the college football playoff. They need this one. They need next week. They get both those. They are in. As for Washington, I mean, take care of business in the Apple Cup, then they are in. Of course, to set up that game, the rematch of the earlier one we saw this year in Seattle between Oregon and Washington. That will be a lot of people watching that one in Vegas next Friday night. We'll also get into Florida State, Florida. We'll get into the Iron Bowl. And then we're, of course, going to close it out with the game, Ohio State and Michigan, as that one a little bit of an interesting line, I think, for some out there, at least for what it opened at, as opposed to where it is right now as we record this show on a Tuesday. So let's jump right now first into that Friday night game, since it's going to be the first one of the weekend. It's going to be a good one there at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon, as the Ducks are a 13.5-point favorite for this one. Beavers plus 395 on the money line. That's a pretty tough one right there, but great value if you want to play a little bit of a goof on that one and put just a little bit of money in case the Beavers are able to pull this one off against their in-state rivals. The over-under is 62. Matt, how you seeing this one?
Yeah, Oregon State comes into this one 6-5 against the spread with the 15th best margin of victory in the nation. Oregon, on the other hand, has the 5th best against the spread record in the nation while having the best margin of victory. The Beavers love to run the ball. We know this. While the Ducks, I mean, they're the complete opposite. The Ducks love to pass it with Bo Nix back there. That might be a problem for Oregon State, despite being a good defense that is ranked 35th in the nation in opponent yards per play, because they're ranked 60th in opponent yards per completion. Oregon, on the other hand, I mean, they're ranked 18th in opponent yards per rush, so it seems like a good matchup. When it comes to common opponents, Oregon State is 4-2, while the Ducks are 5-1. Oregon is home, and I do believe they're a better team, but, you know, you get to that 13.5, 14 range, and it's a lot to lay against a formidable foe in the Beavers, and I really don't like much here. Now, if I had a gun in my head and they said you have to make a move, well, then I'd have to lean under, but I am staying away from this one. I am not betting it. I'm not doing anything on this one.
All right, leaning under for that one. And that was an interesting stat you threw out there of the Beavers against the pass. I mean, because I've got to believe that is going to be a huge part of the arsenal for Oregon, as you touched on. I mean, how good they are throwing the football. Bo Nix still very much in the Heisman race right now, so a strong game in this one. If he's able to put together a heck of a performance against Washington, I mean, I know a lot of people are talking Jaden Daniels, but I think a lot of people would start to jump on Bo Nix. I mean, it seems like, this is when the Heisman Trophy is won and lost. This is the time of year is when you will have the writers and the voters out there start to look at how did they perform in games like this. And if Nix is able to have a huge game against the Beavers and a huge one next week, Bo Nix could very much be the guy there at the Downtown Athletic Club in New York City, hoisting up the Heisman Trophy as opposed to Jaden Daniels or maybe even Michael Penix. Or anybody else. I mean, you're starting to hear some buzz as well for Carson Beck, the way that he has played. Maybe Beck finds his way there to New York as a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. So we'll see how it all breaks down. Let's go Florida State, Florida. Now, this one a little bit different, and I think the line probably reflects it because now backup quarterbacks. Max Brown now going for Florida because Graham Mertz with the shoulder injury, he is done for the season. Same deal with that gruesome leg injury that Jordan Travis had. Matt, I don't know about you. I watched it once when I saw that he was carted off the field because, full disclosure, I was doing the University of Houston Oklahoma State game, part of the broadcast crew for that last weekend over at TD-ECU Stadium in Houston. And of course, you get the notification, Jordan Travis carted off the field with an injury. And then when I saw the play, I'm kind of thinking to myself, all right, carted off the field. Maybe it's a torn ACL, something like that. Oh boy, no, it was not. And for those of you out there who want to have a nice full stomach for Thanksgiving, do not watch it if you have not watched it already. It's you've seen some bad ones in football. That was one of them. But the battle of the backup quarterbacks in the swamp, going to be a Saturday affair for this one. The Noles, a 6.5-point favorite for this one. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I think that this might be a play, if you're out there, of Florida plus 210 on the money line. Home, a huge win for them. We knocked you out of the playoff. I think a little bit, too. It takes some heat off of Billy Napier as people thinking he's on the hot seat going into year 3. The over-under for this one is at 50. I mean, a lot of juicy lines there. I think that the first one probably you'd lean Florida State. But the second one, too, I mean, if you're leaning Florida State, obviously you'd probably stay off the Gators' money line. I mean, for me, and again, my lone play last week did not play out very well. So listen to this guy. Don't listen to me when it comes to that. But, I mean, Matt, kind of like I talked about a goof with Oregon State, I would play even more of a goof on Florida for that one. That plus 210 is pretty enticing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're actually right. I think they have a shot. They're at home, They just played Missouri tough. And they played a couple teams tough, like Arkansas. They beat Tennessee earlier in the year. So, getting 6.5, 7 at home, that's not such a bad wager. But Florida comes in here 6-5 against the spread, but they do have the 6th highest margin of victory. Florida, on the other hand, 4-7 against the spread. The only common opponent these teams have is LSU, and Florida State won by 21 against them at home, while the Gators lost to them by 17 on the road. Both teams, throughout the year, they've loved to pass the ball. Both defenses have been susceptible to get beaten through the air. They both rank as actually some of the worst teams in the nation in opponent yards per pass or completion, ranking 117th and 127th. When looking, through the teams that Florida has faced that are lackluster in that metric, Florida does tend to put up points on them. So I originally was leaning over when I was looking at local headlines and what I thought this number was going to come out at. But, now we got these QB injuries and whatnot, and I definitely don't want to touch the total, but I do like Florida plus a 6.5, plus 7. If you can catch 7, please catch 7. That's a key number. I have not bet it yet. I want to catch the 7. Very important. But, yeah, I'm with you on this one, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game that it's a rivalry game. I mean, that usually plays into it as well. And another thing to consider with Florida State, that's a banged up football team right now. That's an offensive line that has had their depth tested. Now they felt good about their depth coming into the season, first time in a while, first time ever under Mike Norvell that's been the case. But it's also too, I think that the thing that most coaches will tell you is, yeah, we've got depth, but we're probably in a bad spot if we're having to test it out. And they're having to test it out right now. Like I said, especially on the line, Keon Coleman has had a little bit of a lingering issue as well. So a lot of things right here that would probably have you feeling better about the Gators than you would about the Noles in this one. But I mean, still like probably Florida State to win the game. But still expect this one probably to be pretty close.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the. Go ahead. You had something really quick?
Yeah. It's just a tough one to bet. I just want to say because you both quarterbacks and whatnot, and everything you're dealing with. So just make sure to stay tuned to Twitter to see if we fire or not. I have not fired, and I really don't. I don't have anything on this game yet. Just want to make that clarified.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. All right. Let's go to the Iron Bowl. Auburn, Alabama for this one. I mean, Auburn, boy, they are really reeling right now after losing to New Mexico State. I mean, let's talk about that for Auburn. You wrote them a check for $1.8 million. They come to your place and they absolutely smacked you. I mean, that game was not close. As New Mexico State, I mean, you thought soon enough, all right, when does Auburn get back in this game? That never happened. Jerry Kill's Aggies bunch went there and absolutely took care of business. Got in my fiance's family a lot of New Mexico State Aggies, so they were very happy about that. But still, coming into this one, I mean, this is a game where, kind of like we were talking about earlier with Georgia, the same deal with Nick Saban's Alabama Crimson Tide right now, playing some really good football, much improved on the offensive end as well. Jalen Milroe has been an absolute weapon for them. They seem like they've had improvements in the passing game. The running game has been fantastic for Nick Saban's team. And also this is one that the Crimson Tide find themselves as a 14.5-point favorite for that one. Auburn is plus 520 on the money line. Not even close. And the over-under for this one is 48.5. How you seeing it?
So, Alabama 8-3 against the spread. Auburn this year 5-6 against the spread. And when we took a quick gander at common opponents, Alabama's 5-0 against those teams. Alabama's 2-3. We both know both teams, they simply run the ball and then they run the ball some more, right? But Alabama's, their defense is pretty good against the run, ranking 28th in opponent yards per rush, while Auburn is ranking 92nd. So it might be a problem for Auburn in this game. I think Alabama does run all over this team. I think they're catching stride. We've talked about, Saban and company. We also talked about Georgia, these teams like Alabama and Georgia that, as time goes on, they tend to start catching stride a little bit. And I think this Alabama team is doing that. The total 49 about. It's a little bit tougher because I'm not sure about Auburn's defense. I mean, after last week's performance, I'm not quite sure how they're going to pan out against Alabama, but I do think Alabama minus the 14 has a shot. I haven't bet it, but I am leaning Alabama minus the 13.5, 14.
All right, so Bama minus the points right there, giving the points for this one. That's the one that you like heading into this one. All right, let's get to the game that everybody is going to be watching. That's going to be the noon kick Eastern time on the East Coast between Ohio State and Michigan. Oh, you're excited about this one. I could see it. I'm feeling it right now. This one has all the storylines for it. I mean, Jim Harbaugh obviously not going to be a part of this one. It opened at Michigan -5. It's now down to Michigan at 3.5 for this one, as Ohio State is plus 143 on the money line. The over-under for this one is 46. I don't want to take any more of your time, Matt Maltepes. You're ready to fire.
I am. Ohio State comes in this one 7-3-1 against the spread. They have the fourth highest margin of victory in college football. Michigan 5-5-1 against the spread with the second highest margin of victory in the nation. We all know Michigan loves to run the ball. And Ohio State has performed well against the run coming in, ranked 20th in the nation in opponent yards per rush. Michigan, in my opinion, they showed some weakness in their common opponent in Penn State. And the reason Penn State didn't win that game was not because of their defensive effort. It was because their fumble and turnover downs which together, I mean, led to 10 points for Michigan and took away scoring opportunities for Penn State. J.J. McCarthy only passed the ball 8 times that game. I believe Ohio State has a better offense than Penn State and is a better team than Penn State. And they also beat Penn State, proving that. With that said, I don't believe Michigan can go and beat Ohio State with McCarthy only putting the ball through the air 8 times. I like Ohio State. I think Michigan has had a cupcake schedule all year long, and I think they're about to get punched in the mouth right here with all the drama surrounding this team with Harbaugh. I think this team is weaker now than ever. That's an advantage for Ohio State. Give me the 3.5 and Ohio State money line plus 148. I like both. Already bet both, so lock it in.
There you go. So liking the Bucks for this one, as I think, I'm with you too as well, where we've seen, a Michigan team that has tried to just bully their way for games these last few years. And I think this Ohio State defensive front and that front seven, they're built for that. I mean, Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers have shown you they can play the run incredibly well. JT Tuimoloau as well as Jack Sawyer up front. They can play the run incredibly well. And this is an Ohio State team. I mean, you go back to that Notre Dame game. I mean, I think that it's been a little bit of a, hey, we got something to prove here. People think we're not a physical football team. Well, guess what? We'll prove that we're a physical football team. And, I think that, that is something that is going to come to a head in this one. I mean, the only thing we miss out on in this one is, especially if you want to call it a war of words, I mean, there is always a war of words between Michigan and Ohio State. There's always that. But tremendous bad blood. But Jim Harbaugh not being part of this one, I mean, I was kind of looking forward. I was kind of hoping that maybe he'd be out there. So if maybe there was an awkward handshake at the beginning of the game during the warm-ups, or maybe even two as well, somebody, celebrating in the face, and then that gets their opponent to kind of take exception to that a little bit more. I mean, that's the only thing that I was looking forward to. But I got to believe Ohio State wins this one. They are going to explode with excitement. We're still going to see fights. It's still that game. It's still nobody likes each other on either side for this one. I mean, this is every single rivalry that is out there that has bad blood in it, and this one definitely does. So we'll see how it all plays out, but I'm with you. I really like Ohio State in this one. And also, too, I think for everything that we've just talked about is giving the flowers to Ohio State's defense. You got to give credit to twofold on the offensive side. Kyle McCord has been a much improved quarterback these last few weeks. He kind of, like we were talking about Carson Beck earlier, has started to hit his stride a little bit. And getting Travion Henderson back has been huge for that Ohio State offense. I mean, that gives them another wrinkle of explosiveness that they didn't have early on in the season. And now they've got him back. And that's something else that kind of, I think, would be advantage Ohio State for this one. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be everybody watching this one. I mean, this one is going to be the one because, Championship Saturday in the Big Ten is not going to matter. It's going to be whoever wins facing the sacrificial lamb that is Iowa in that one. They will smack Iowa in that one and be able to move immediately into the college football playoff. But, I mean, this is one that, this is a playoff preparation game, if you will, for whoever wins this one. They win this one, I think they feel pretty good going into the playoff of seeing Georgia, whoever else is out there. We feel good about our chances if we win this one. So it's going to be a fun one. I can't wait. I mean, I'm already looking forward to Saturday. I know that you are. You're excited about it as well. So at 11 a.m. my time, noon your time, I have to probably guess that me and you will both be locked in, ready to go for kickoff to the final whistle for that one. So
get the popcorn.
That's it. You know it. If you've still got room after Thanksgiving Thursday. All right. So we did both the recap. We did both the look ahead in this episode. That's why the time right here, don't adjust the time. You're good. It's all good. We just went ahead and merged both shows into one. So with that said, Matt Maltepes, the animal, sir, happy Thanksgiving to you. Hopefully you all have a great Thanksgiving up there in the Philly area. We will be doing the same down here, as it's going to be a little chillier down here, as the weather going to be in the 50s and the 60s. So that's cold for our parts. Okay, I know that's a nice spring day up there, but that's chilly here. So the pullovers and the jackets. I mean, I think we're going to a nice dinner, so I'll probably have to break out the blazer for that one. But besides the point. We'll be ready after Thanksgiving Thursday to watch the exciting games on Friday. And then, of course, we will be locked in and ready to go for that game, Ohio State, Michigan, and everything else on Saturday to set us up for Championship Saturday. So this is the exciting time, kids. This is the exciting time. We look forward to these. All right, so I hope everybody out there has a happy Thanksgiving. Matt Maltepes, happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, man.
I appreciate
Everyone
it,
out
buddy.
there, happy Thanksgiving. Make sure to get that Ohio State money line and that Ohio State plus 3.5 wager in.
I'm putting it in right now. As soon as we get off of this, I'm plugging in those plays. He's Matt Maltepes. I'm Dan Mathews. It's been another episode of Dan Mathews and the Animals. Once again, happy Thanksgiving. Don't go crazy if you're going shopping on Friday. I don't understand it, but whatever. You do you. I will be at home asleep. You can go get the $5 off a flat screen or whatever the hell you're waiting in line for and pushing people out of the way for. Hey, I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. We'll close out episode 26 of Dan Mathews and the Animals. We will talk to you all next week. Good luck.